morning, everybody. If you've just joined us, my name's Ben Palma and I'm from Janos, and with me today is Siva from MIM. We have almost 400 people who should be joining us today, so we will give everybody just a few more moments to join us. So welcome, sit tight, and we'll commence in the next few minutes. Thank you. If you can, just let us know that you can hear us. Type in something to the chat box letting us know that you can hear us talking. Thanks, everyone. Well, it's so fantastic to see that you can hear us. And again, if you've just joined us, this is Ben Palmer from Janos. Welcome to this webinar on enhancing our psychological well-being. Today I'm here with Siva. Good morning, Siva.
Good morning, Ben.
And good morning, everyone. Again, we're waiting for nearly 400 people to join us this morning. Some people may be logging into Zoom for the first time for a little while, so we'll just give them another minute or so and then we'll get going. But if you can hear us, let us know and say hello to each other while you've got the chance. Thank you. So good morning once again. We've still got lots of people who are coming in as we speak.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. It'd be great to hear from whereabouts you're joining us, in Malaysia or elsewhere. If you're comfortable to do so, let us know where you're joining us from so we can see the spread of the area that we're coming from. And see some people are joining us from Indonesia, from all over Malaysia, some people from the US. So welcome, everybody. Okay, one more minute and then we're going to allow Siva to commence our webinar for us. But again, thank you for joining us. We can see people from all over Malaysia and the broader region. Welcome. We hope you enjoy this webinar and importantly find it useful. I'm Ben Palmer and with me is Siva from MIM. Morning, Siva.
Thank you, Ben. Good morning, and everybody. Welcome, and thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Shivanyanam. I am the CEO for the Malaysian Institute of Management. And I hope you are continuing to stay at home, maintaining the social distance, and of course, taking all the necessary precautionary measures. And the Institute established 1965, and for the last 5 decades, we have transformed individuals from good managers to great managers, setting standards for management and leadership excellence in Malaysia. Now, this webinar is possible and thanks to Ben, and is brought in collaboration with our learning partner, Janos International. Janos International is the world leader in emotional intelligence programs that enhances self-awareness, empathy, leadership, and resilience. Now, with that said, I'd like to introduce our speaker for today, Benjamin Palma. Ben is the Chief Executive Officer of Janos International, a business that specializes in the assessment and development of emotional intelligence, employee engagement, and motivation. Ben has a background in psychology, having finished a PhD at Swinburne University, Melbourne, Australia. And for his PhD, Ben developed the first Australian model and measure of emotional intelligence. Ben has an extensive publication list in this area and has written book chapters and guest edited special issues of journal on this topic. This morning, we have Ben speaking to us on how to manage our psychological well-being during the COVID-19 virus. Enhancing psychological well-being, Dr. Benjamin Palma. Over to you, Ben.
Thank you for that very warm welcome, Siva, and it's great to be here, everybody. And we hope you enjoy this webinar. I will just briefly say in furtherance to what Siva's just said that we're very proud of our relationship and partnership that we have with MIM, and we look forward to bringing this webinar to you together in partnership. So without any further ado, let's get going. Like our cardiovascular health, there's a lot of good research on our psychological health. And like our cardiovascular health, that research has resulted in a wide number of strategies that are accessible and that we can readily put into place to boost our psychological well-being. And like our cardiovascular health, unfortunately, these common sense strategies that can be readily put into action aren't that common in practice. Now is the time to intentionally try and enhance your psychological well-being. The uncertainty we're experiencing right now surrounding COVID-19 and the concerns we have about it cause stress, and this stress in turn can suppress our immune system. It's amazing what a 3, 4, or 5% reduction in our stress could mean for ourselves and others right now. Collectively, those small things could add up to something big. So this morning, more than anything, I'd like to inspire you to take action around your own psychological well-being and that of others, to make these common sense strategies that we're going to go over in this webinar more common in your own life and that of those around you. This is the model of emotional intelligence that we help people apply and that we partner with MIM on. Today, we're going to go over a lot of strategies aimed at helping us better manage our emotions and how we respond to them. These typically build our self-management competency or skill, helping us to be more psychologically resilient. However, not all the strategies are going to work as effectively for everyone. Our psychological well-being, what impacts it, and what builds it is very unique, perhaps as unique as the fingerprints on your hands. So what I'd like to encourage you to do is to also draw on your self-awareness, to adopt strategies that you may not have already put in place, and to put new ones in place, to reflect on how they're working for you and how they're making you feel, to have a self-awareness, a self-reflective practice. A strategy that is working should produce a noticeable benefit over a 2 or 3 week time period. This might be a small 2, 3, 4, or 5% uplift in your mood. If you haven't exercised for a while and then you've started exercising, by way of example, you may be familiar with what that 2 or 3% uplift in your mood feels like. And that's what we're looking for from the adoption of these range of strategies that we're going to go through this morning. The point here, I guess, is that I'd like to encourage you to experiment with yourself, to try something new, try it for 2 or 3 weeks as part of your daily routine and give it some time to work. Have a self-reflective practice. If over time you don't feel it is working, then move on to something else that we've covered in this webinar today. So let's start by boosting our self-awareness, our understanding of what's happening to us at the moment and what's happening around us in our community. By better understanding the neuroscience of emotions and what's happening to us, we can better appreciate the behavior that we're seeing, and this appreciation can help us respond more effectively to it. So we're seeing a lot of panic buying of goods at the moment. Some people are not caring enough about gathering in groups, and the science of emotions can help us explain why. Whenever an event occurs around us, the first thing that happens is these very quick, non-conscious, automatic processing areas of the brain look at that event and determine whether it's good or bad. Determine whether the event is useful or not useful, a reward or a threat, a friend or a foe. And it generates an emotion to communicate its view of the event and communicates that to the so-called thinking brain, our prefrontal cortex, that helps us determine good from bad, better from best, the likely outcome of the event, and how we should respond to it. So the first thing that happens is, in a non-conscious, unaware way, we firstly feel an emotion before anything else, and that's communicated to our thinking brain. What's more interesting about this is when the emotional brain determines that the event is a reward and generates a positive emotion, this has what we call a broaden and build effect on the way we think and the way we behave. It helps us to see more options and to respond more creatively. Conversely, or in opposition, if you like, when the emotional brain views the event as not useful, a threat or a foe, and generates a negative emotion, this has what's called a narrowing and limiting effect on the thinking brain. As a consequence, our thinking is narrowed, our perspective is limited, and we demonstrate more reactionary behavior. Let's have a look at some more specific examples. So when we feel uncertain, we tend to make assumptions. A lot of people have been feeling uncertain about the supply of goods and have been panic buying goods on that basis. When people feel stressed, they can become aggressive or withdrawn. When people feel anxious, they can become reactive. And we've seen some of that behavior in our community as well. When people feel overly worried, they can really become problem focused and, for example, keep going to the news all the time. And that can feed our own anxiety and fears even worse, causing what's called a negative spiral down. When people feel fearful, they blame. And we'll see a lot of mudslinging and a lot of blaming, particularly going on towards governments around the world over the next few weeks and months. Now let's have a look at some more positive examples. When people feel a sense of purpose, they engage with one another. When people feel valued, they demonstrate care for others. Disasters like the one we're experiencing right now naturally create a sense of purpose amongst us. We saw it here in Australia with the bushfires, and we've seen it in other areas of the world with floods and hurricanes and monsoons and things like that. But this natural sense of purpose doesn't happen automatically. We have to encourage it. We have to lean into it, if you like, and encourage it. When people feel informed, they become solution focused. When people feel empowered, they innovate. And we've been seeing some of this recently too. Earlier in the week, the Washington Post reported that a woman named Helen in Ireland had helped organise nearly 6,000 volunteers by helping the elderly and immune-compromised people get groceries, almost entirely through Twitter. In Louisville, a person named by the name of Erin is matching volunteers with people in need using Google Docs. These people are seizing the day and responding to positive emotions with positive actions. And I'm equally sure that you're seeing some of these kind of positive initiatives occurring in Malaysia right now, and more broadly in our region. So finally, before we really get into the strategies, I do want to say that all emotions are important, both pleasant and unpleasant emotions. What's more important is how we respond to them. And in a crisis, it's particularly important to pay attention to how we feel and to act more intentionally with our emotions, because our emotions in a crisis can take control of us. So the point here, I guess, is to have that self-reflective practice and to more intentionally be aware of our emotions and to act with them rather than allowing them to take control. So next, we're going to move into the particular strategies. But before we do, I'm going to invite you to take a quiz. So the strategies that we're going to cover are thinking strategies, physical strategies, relationship strategies, and environmental strategies. But before we do those, we're going to do a quiz that'll help us think about the types of strategies we're already using. And the point here is to try and identify new strategies. To help us identify new strategies, let's take a moment to stop and reflect on what we're already doing. So if you have the printout of workbook that was sent around with the invite, the quiz is on page number 5. So if you've got a pen and you've got the workbook printed out, I'd invite you to turn to page number 5. If you don't have the workbook, don't worry, I'm going to put the quiz up on screen. In a minute, I'm going to pause for 4 minutes and allow you to complete the quiz. It's fairly easy. There are 16 questions. Here they are up on screen here. If you haven't got the printout, just get a blank piece of paper and a pen and write question 1 to 16, and then just write a T for true or an F for false as you go through. So read each question, answer true or false, and then the scoring key is on the opposite page, on page number 6. So once you've finished, go to the scoring key. All you have to do is put a tick to only those questions that you answered true. And then once you've done that, add up how many ticks you've got in each column. Okay, and then you should have a number out of 4 representing out of the 4 things where you are with either the thinking, physical, relationship, or environmental strategies. I know some of you may have done this as pre-work to the webinar, but not all of us has. So if you have finished, just reflect on the reflective questions there and sit tight. I'm going to pause now and just give people the capacity to do the quiz. Once you've finished, type in finish into the chat box so that we know that you've done so. Okay, so I'm going to pause now and then, type into the quiz what it got you thinking and your most popular strategy. Thank you. Okay, so a lot of people have almost finished, and we can see people are letting us know via the chat box some of the strategies they're most relying on. So thank you for that. So just another 40 seconds, and then Siva's going to come on and share with us what he's noticed from the chat box and some of the strategies that he's currently using that he's finding particularly useful. Okay, if you haven't finished, keep going and complete. We'll just talk for the next couple of minutes on some of the things we're seeing in the chat box. Siva, what has this brought up for you?
And it's quite varied. Many of them are saying it is psychology and relationship, and some say they are equal in all the 4 areas. And yeah, and most of them say that it's a relationship and environment. And let's look at that. And what is working well for me currently is relationship, especially at this point. It's staying in touch with the team and communicating with them. I think that is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you find personally useful, Siva?
Yeah. Personally, I find that communicating with them, it's building the relationship. I would say that is very important at this point, because there's a lot of anxiety, and you need to take care of your people, especially being a leader, and also the communication is very important.
Excellent. Thank you. We see a couple of questions about will the recording be made available, and the answer to that question is yes, we will make the recording available. Okay, so.
And the other one, Ben, is of course, physical is very important, getting the right amount of sleep and exercising and managing your stress levels is very important too.
Absolutely. So you might have seen we've put a poll up, and would invite you to complete the poll. It's very simple, just one question there. Which of the psychological strategies do you use the most? Let us know. We can see a lot of us have done that in the chat box already, but why not make it a little bit scientific? We'll give you the opportunity just to answer our question there in the poll. This is the kind of information that you won't be able to find anywhere on the internet. It can only come from a wonderful group like us engaging in this kind of content. So we're going to see which of the strategies in the moment are they most relied on, if you like, at present by the attendees. This is an anonymous poll. Let us know. So over 40% of us have voted now. We'll give everybody a chance. If you can't see the poll, sometimes it's down the bottom in the bar of options that are there. So go down and have a look for it. Almost half of us have completed the poll now. And while we're just waiting for everyone to complete the poll, we can see a couple other questions here. Do we have permission to share the recording out? The recording will be made available via a website, so you'll be able to point people to that website in order for them to go and look. So let's come back to the poll, see if we can just get a few more of us to vote. Okay. So I'll end the poll now and I'll publish the result. There we have it. So at the moment, we're mostly relying on the thinking-oriented strategies, followed by the relationship strategies, and then environmental, and finally physical. Okay, so if all of us was one single person and I was advising you as your psychologist, if you like, I would say to you all that the point of focus, obviously, perhaps for the next few months could be our physical health a little bit more. And there is a lot we can do, even in this world of social distancing, to improve our physical health. Okay. Siva, any other comments from you before we move on?
Yeah, good.
Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do next is go over the different strategies. If you do have the workbook, you can follow along on page number 7. Yes, we've only got an hour with each other, so I am going to be going through the treetops, if you like, but you can think of each of these bullet points that I'm going to share with you as your search terms in Google. Knowledge is commoditized. There's just so much information available on the internet now. I will give examples around each one, but again, if you want more information, use these as your search terms. You will find a wealth of other information that you can get. And we can see a question about that. Where can we get the workbook? We'll make the workbook available to everyone who's attended, and it is on our website as well. Okay, so the thinking-oriented strategies. The first thing that I would say as a great thinking-oriented strategy is creating boundaries. Boundaries, very, very useful thinking-oriented strategy. So what's a boundary? Well, it's kind of like a line in the sand, if you like. It's a well-defined thing that you're going to stop doing or seek to stop doing. It's that kind of thing. So for example, if you look at your phone right up before when you go to bed, we know that's not healthy for your psychological health or your physical health. So you might say, I'm going to draw a line in the sand, a boundary, and not look at my phone for at least 1 hour before I go to bed. If you have somebody who gobbles up a lot of your, or absorbs a lot of your time that you need for work because they talk so much or they're too involved with you, you might draw a line in the sand and talk to that person and say, I can't spend all this time with you that I am doing because I'm not getting enough work done. That would be called a boundary. My partner, Georgia, here at home, my wife asked me to put my phone into airplane mode when I come home from work or when I finish my work up here in the house at the moment so that I can be more connected with her and our kids. And that's a boundary, if you like. So creating boundaries around things that you know aren't really good for your psychological or physical health. Reducing how often you tune into news or social media. For some of us, we find that really beneficial. A lot of us find it's anxiety creating. So, now can be a good time to just choose just 2 times of the day that you're going to go and check the news or check social media. It's something that can really get us quite addicted at the moment to how often we're tuning into it, and it's not necessarily very good for our psychological health. So just choosing a length of time, let's say 15 minutes, and 2 times in the day, in the morning and the night, that you do that. Be another great thinking-oriented strategy. Gratitude reflections. One of the things an environment like the one can do is cause an imbalance in our emotions, such that we're experiencing too many unpleasant emotions and not enough balance in that sense. So stopping and reflecting on what's working well, stopping and reflecting on the things that you're grateful for in your life can be a really powerful thing to do. By way of example, in our family, we stop at the dinner table each night and each take a turn going around the table, reflecting on something that's really positive about our day. And it's a really great positive thing to do. Diarising your think and reflection time. If it's not in the diary, sometimes it doesn't happen. It's really important to have what I was saying before, a self-reflective process at the moment, to reflect on how you're feeling and what's going on, what the work that you have is ahead of you, what your priorities are, and so on. And then finally, perspective taking. So again, unpleasant emotions can narrow our thinking, limit our interpretation of events, and in other words, reduce our perspective. So, now more than ever is a great time to do things that can broaden your perspective in life and in particular what you're hearing. So if you're only looking at a main news channel, for example, let's say CNN or something like that, you might want to also tune into something like the Good News Network to help get perspective. What is the Good News Network? You can go and email it. But the Good News Network is a news channel dedicated to just spreading good news and just printing and just talking about good news. Of course, you can't just do that, then you would lose perspective, but it's one of those things that can help you gain perspective. If you're quite conservative in your politics, then and watch conservative news channels, listen to conservative podcasts and so on, it can be a good time to go and listen to progressive podcasts, progressive news channels, progressive newspapers as a way of gaining perspective, and vice versa. So yeah, that can be a good thing to do. So these are our thinking-oriented strategies, and I think some of the really important ones up there are gratitude and perspective and creating boundaries. Siva, have you any comments or questions coming up at this stage around our thinking-oriented strategies?
There aren't any here. People are still talking about how well they have done on the strategies and what stands out.
Yeah.
But there is another one on the creating boundaries, which you had shared, Ben, which is good, is that sometimes it's good to tell your boss, colleagues, and family that, you don't want to be interrupted at certain hours and you're only available at certain times. That will be very good.
That's fantastic. That's a really great boundary-oriented strategy. Yes, that can create mutual understanding around what's going on, and a really healthy thing to do right now. Absolutely. Yeah. If you've got other thinking-oriented strategies that you engage in that you think might be beneficial for us to hear, please let us know. Type them into the chat box so we can see them. I can see here we've got a question, are there any empirical evidence that supports these thinking-oriented strategies? Yes, absolutely. There's mountains of evidence for them. If you go and look on the internet, you'll find the benefits of them are well espoused in the internet. Thank you. Yeah, we're getting some other great comments coming through as people are sharing some of their thinking-oriented strategies. Okay. So let's go to our next category of strategies now, our physical strategies. So there's a very strong relationship between our physical health and our mental health, and our mental health and our physical health. So equally important to engage in is our physical strategies. And as we saw from the poll that we did, this is our weakest area as a collective group. So perhaps the thing to think about for a lot of us on the webinar. So sleep, firstly. One of the things that unpleasant emotions from unpleasant environments do is create anxiety, and that can impact on the quality of our sleep. And sleep is really important for our psychological and physical health. There's an extremely big body of research on the benefits of sleep, and there's an enormous amount of things that we can do to improve our sleep. Some of the really simple ones that come to mind: changing your bed sheets more often, cleaning up your room, not drinking caffeine after 2 p.m., not looking at your phone at least an hour before bed, standing outside in the dark. All these things can be really beneficial to the quality of our sleep. If you are drinking alcohol, obviously to reduce that and to reduce caffeine, both of these things have a very big impact on the quality of our sleep and our physical and mental health more broadly. Improve your diet. Now's the time more than ever to try and be eating more whole, fresh foods and to be watching your weight. So if you're a little bit overweight, now might be the time to download an app like Easy Diet or something like that that helps you count your calories, trying to get your calorie count down so that you can lose a little bit of weight, but also importantly, really make sure that you're eating good, healthy food right now. Exercising. Again, lots of great apps available on the exercise that you can do inside your house, in your lounge room, in your kitchen. So now's the time to be spending about 20 minutes or half an hour at a minimum, trying to get a sweat up and really trying to engage in some exercise. And finally, mindfulness meditation. I've put Smiling Mind up there. That's the app that I like to engage in the most. It's a free one, and I think it's quite good. So yeah, these are our just examples of our physical type activities. And yeah, I'd love to see you again type in some of the things that you find useful in this area. So what are you doing to improve your physical health? Let us know via the chat box so that we can learn not only from the content, but from each other. Siva, what are you noticing in the chat box at the moment?
One, from Gordon, who is on creating on boundaries. He has asked, how does one balance between creating these boundaries and inadvertently draw your, from the bosses who feel insecure from perceived loss of control?
Look, there's no easy answer, I think, to some of these more specific ones, but I think the point you were making was a good one before, that it's important to not only create boundaries, but to communicate them. And if you think that a boundary isn't going to work for your boss or for someone who's quite insecure, then if you can, wind them in, get them involved, help create understanding about why you need to draw the boundary, and let them know how it will be beneficial not only to you, but to them as well. And hopefully through that mutual process, they might come to a good understanding about it.
There's someone who has asked how to, break the addiction to caffeine.
Well, as someone who likes a good cup of coffee, I think that's a really great question. I think the answer is to slowly bring it down. So if you drink 6 cups a day, put a boundary in place, say for the next day, I'll only drink 5, and really try and stick to it. And then go down to 4, and then go down to 3, and really trying to get your caffeine drunk before 2 p.m. The other thing that you can do that can be really beneficial is to up your water intake. So to be drinking lots of water, because that can help flush caffeine from your system. I see a question there. What is Smiling Mind?
Smiling Mind, yes.
That is an app about mindfulness. Yeah, helps you engage in a mindfulness activity. Thank you, everybody who's contributing. This is excellent. I think it really gives us some other things to think about. So thank you for everybody who's contributing their contributions.
And there is somebody is asking how to overcome, is unable to sleep.
Yeah. Well, I think to start with, all the basic things that we're talking about, so not looking at your phone at least an hour before bed, standing outside in the dark, doing some exercise, and not tuning into the news. That can be a really great starting place. I see a comment there too, is praying a form of meditation? Yes, absolutely. And we know that the research on prayer is quite similar to the research and beneficial impacts of mindfulness. So you can count daily prayers as a mindfulness exercise, absolutely.
And this is from Mohandas. He says, world leaders sleep 4 hours at max in a day. How does this reflect the physical technique?
Well, I've heard of world leaders who sleep 12 hours a day. I'm not exactly sure that 4 hours of sleep a day is good for you. Certainly the research would suggest it's not. I know sleep is a very individual thing. I think what's important here is to know how much sleep is beneficial to you. Again, what builds our physical health is quite individual. We all need sleep, but how much sleep we need is quite individual. So it's about you knowing how much sleep you need and reflecting on whether you're getting it or not. And then if you're not, engaging in activities that can help you improve the quality and length of your sleep. Okay. Let's go on to relationship-oriented strategies now. This is the single most important bucket or category, if you like, of strategy. So of all the ones we're looking at today, this is the single most important area for our psychological well-being and our physical well-being as well. If you look into books like The Village Effect by Susan Pinker, you'll know that being connected and the quality of our relationships are quite predictive of our mortality. You're really likely to improve your health from improving your relationships. So engaging in activities and actions that improve your relationships are really important. Now, what I like to do personally is draw circles that represent the important relationships in my life. Me as a father, me as a partner, me as a colleague, me as a friend, me as a sibling and family member. And once I have those circles, I put the names of the important people in my life in each of the relevant circles. And then I think of small things that I can do to improve my relationships with those people in those circles. So by way of example, in the partner circle, I have my partner, Georgia. I sat down with her one night and I said, how can I improve my relationship with you this year? And she said to me, I'd like you to put your phone into airplane mode when you've finished work for the day so that you can help be more present and connected with me and the kids. And that small little action has really helped me be more present and more connected with my family. In terms of me as a father, one of the things that I put in there, I noticed that the family were getting overly stressed and concerned from the environment right now. So I conceptualized the action of doing a gratitude reflection at the dinner table where we all stop and share something we're grateful for, something that's going on. And that was a great little thing that I did to improve my relationship with my kids as a father. The point here, I guess, is to identify the important relationships and the important areas of your life, and just to do small little things, wind them into your daily routine to improve those relationships. Very, very beneficial. Staying connected with people, structuring regular check-in times. This can be, again, really, really important thing to do right now. Checking on your neighbors, checking in with friends, checking in with one another. Having virtual breaks with colleagues, just like you'd have normal break at work, stopping and having some a break with your friends if you can, and with your colleagues at work. And then finally, leaning into conflict, facilitating difficult conversations. We had someone before, when we put up the boundaries, mention the fact that it's different to do when you've got a controlling, difficult boss, and that can be really true. So nothing can help us more in life than learning the art of facilitating difficult conversations. And there are so many books like Crucial Conversations and others there that can help us bring up and express how we feel more effectively to those around us. And nothing can be better for our relationships than doing things like that. So if you get the opportunity, what are you doing to work on your relationships right now? How are you improving your relationships? Let us know. Put some comments into the chat box so that we can all share and learn not only from the content, but with each other.
There is some conversation going on about eating at home. And Ben, most of us don't get a chance to have 2 meals per day with the family at home. And this is a great opportunity for many, who can have 3 meals and, sit down over a round table and then have a chat.
Yes, that's fantastic. I know, even though it's very tough, I think this environment's opening up the opportunity for us to engage with each other in different ways, isn't it? And we're getting some other great comments coming in here. Thank you, everyone who's doing so. And we see some comments there around regarding a good sleep. I face the problem of bringing many kinds of thoughts to bed. Yes, it can be really difficult to switch off. And this is where meditation can become very, very useful. Meditation can be a great way of trying to still the mind and helping us get better sleep. Okay. You can see some other great comments coming in. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. All right. So finally, our environmental strategies. What can we do to improve our environment? We've obviously got very obvious things like washing our hands and avoiding touching our face. But again, if you're feeling overly distracted and overly overwhelmed at the moment, now can be the time to structure your email or call time. So some people in these webinars, as we've run lots of them, just like this one, are saying they're a bit overwhelmed by the amount of contact and the amount of Zoom meetings and things like that they're going to. So it can be really important to structure. And what I mean by that is say, look, I'm only going to look at emails, or I'm only going to engage in calls or something for certain times of the day so that I can get my work done, or indeed feel not so overwhelmed by the amount of contact that's going on. So these are the sort of environmental things that we can do. Doing something you love, either in the outdoors or, if you can't, in the indoors. The point here is to really think about things that you love and to engage in those. And I'll share with you myself, I really love talent contests. I love watching on YouTube, America's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent. I really love the the talent shows. There's just something about seeing people put their all into performances and to achieving something that really moves me. I'm one of these people who cries easily, and it's something I experience nice emotions from. And so I like to do that every now and then during the week as a way of just doing something that I love. So it's really important to engage in strategies and things that you know work for you. And so thinking about things that you love doing right now and doing them, intentionally engaging in them, can be really, really important. So I see a question there. What does it mean to structure your email and call times? It means rather than having your email open all day and just answering emails in a reactive way as they come through, it means to structure that. So maybe to say to yourself, I'm only going to look at emails between 8:30 and 9:30, and then I'm going to do 2 hours of work. And then I'll look at them again from say 11:30 to 12:30, and then I'll stop and do work, and then look at them again at 4:30 in the afternoon. The point being, I guess, is if you're finding overwhelmed by your emails, structuring how often and for how long you look at them. And as we see here, yes, our outdoor activities are restricted at the moment, and that's why I gave the example of something that I can do indoors, but certainly reflecting on thinking about something that you can do that you love. And finally, separating your workspace from other areas. So if you haven't already, really try and set up a nice home office for yourself, put up a plant, put up some photos, really try and make your workspace a nice place to be. Burn some essential oils or a vaporizer if you can. If you want concentration and attention, peppermint can be really useful. If you want to relax, something like lavender can be a really useful scent. A really strong connection between our olfactory system, our sense of smell, and our emotional system. So, having nice scents going on around us can really help at the moment improve our well-being and our capacity to stay focused and relaxed at work. Siva, what are you noticing here from the chat box again?
Still there on the hobbies, essential oils, of course, definitely helps. Outdoor activities. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, everyone.
Structured emails and the calls is very important. That really helps.
Yeah. Got an excellent comment here. I like listening to the piano. Yes, putting on some nice music, another great environmental strategy. And yes, we know the outdoors are limited at the moment.
There are also buddy calls, Ben, you may want to share about that.
Yeah, doing your buddy calls certain times of the day can be really beneficial, absolutely. Okay, we can see some people contributing the things that they really love doing. That's fantastic to see. So, in summary, to boost our psychological well-being, we really need to stop and reflect on some things that we might be able to stop doing, like stop looking at our phone right up until when we go to bed, or stop drinking caffeine after 2 p.m. in the day, and things we can start doing, things like engaging more in the things we love, things like starting to burn essential oils in our office environment if we're not doing that. The point is to engage in some small things that we can stop or start doing to boost our psychological resilience, to go above and beyond what you're already doing and to add something to it, either by stopping or starting something. So I want to finish with empathy, and I want to finish with empathy for 3 reasons. Firstly, empathy is something we're all biologically equipped for. And what I mean by that is it's not necessarily something we need to develop within ourselves, because we all have the mirror neurons and the underlying biology to be empathetic with each other. And I'm going to talk more about that in a moment. The second reason I want to focus on empathy is because empathy is something so crucial to that most important category of different strategies, our relationship category. So doing things that help us demonstrate empathy with each other and with those around us can be really important in terms of improving our relationships. And finally, I wanted to finish with empathy because I think more than anything, we need more empathy in the community at the moment, more understanding of each other and what's going on for us. So, as I was saying, empathy is not something we need to develop within ourselves. We all have the biology for it. We just need to know how to engage our biology to demonstrate empathy more effectively. So let's start by reflecting on what gets in the way of us naturally being empathetic. Well, firstly, what gets in the way of that is inattention. So this constant kind of being concerned about the news and what's going on, that results in a lack of presence, and it can result in a lack of listening. And this can get in the way of our biology for empathy. Secondly is our own judgment. Whenever someone's talking, naturally, we think about the next thing to say, or the next question to ask, or we're weighing up what's being said through our own thoughts and perspectives, our own values and beliefs. And that is, I'm not suggesting that we stop doing that, but I'm suggesting that if you want to engage your biology for empathy, you need to just be mindful of it and to bring it down a little bit, just to consciously reduce it a bit, if you like, to focus less on what's being said and what you're going to say in response, and to focus more on feelings, to pay just that little bit more attention to not only what's being said, but how someone's feeling. Because if you focus on how the person's feeling, you'll start to feel more yourself and you'll naturally demonstrate more empathy. The other thing that gets in the way of empathy is our context. If we're feeling anxious, if we're feeling stressed, if we're working under time pressure, these things get in the way of our empathy. So by just being more aware of it, and by doing the sorts of things that we've been talking about today, boosting our resilience, that can help create a context where we're better off and better equipped to demonstrate our natural empathy for each other. I'm not going to show you this today because bandwidth at the moment is prohibiting being able to show videos in Zoom. But nonetheless, if you want to watch a really great short 5-minute video of people's natural empathy for each other coming out, then go to YouTube after the webinar and type in "Look Beyond Borders, the 4 Minutes Experiment." You can see the URL up here, and we'll be making this recording available to everyone on the website. So after this, go and watch that. It's a really great 5-minute video of a context that people were brought into that naturally brought out their empathy. And I want you to watch it and think of it as a metaphor, as an example of how when you just get together with someone and you pay more attention to how people are feeling and less attention to answering, asking more questions or giving your perspective, how your natural empathy will just come out. Let me finish by talking about how to do this in a more day-to-day way. To engage your biology for empathy, before you meet with someone, use a purposeful pause as you get ready to meet. What does that mean? Stop 1 minute before you're scheduled to meet with someone. Take 6 deep breaths. What is a deep breath? Put your hands on your belly button, and as you breathe in, just notice how your tummy should expand out. Breathe in, say for 3 seconds, and then blow out, purse your lips like you're blowing out through a straw. Blow out for twice the amount of time that you breathe in. So if you breathe in for 3 seconds, exhale for 6. If you breathe in for 2, exhale for 4. If you breathe in for 5, exhale for 10. The point here being that a deep breath is best done by blowing out for twice the amount of time that you're breathing in. And try and do it for a minute. What this does physiologically is it engages our parasympathetic nervous system, our nervous system that helps us relax, and this helps to ready our natural biology for empathy. During this minute, as you've become conscious of how to do the breathing, once you're there, then set an intention to be empathetic. What do I mean by that? Just use your self-talk. Say to yourself, how am I going to be conscious on stilling my own thoughts and paying more attention to the way the person I'm working with, the person I'm talking with feels? Open yourself up to their emotions. And then when you're talking with that person, use mindful listening. So focus your attention on the other person, not only what they're saying, but how they're feeling. This will help you engage your biology for empathy. This is how to get into the right context, if you like, for empathy, and how you can naturally engage it more often. So in summary, Experiment with different physical, thinking, relationship, and environmental strategies. I'll take us back to our original poll. The vast majority of us probably have an opportunity in that physical category. Once you've identified something, wind it into your daily routine, give it 2 or 3 weeks to work, reflect on how it's working for you, and pay particular attention to strategies like this one on empathy that are going to enhance how you connect and engage with